Far Cry 6 is launching on Thursday, October 7th, 2021, and you see the first ever gameplay right here. I was invited to an almost 30-minute long presentation about the game, got to interview one of the developers, so I learned a ton about the super diverse looking world, the new features like the Supremo backpack that looks really wild. I still can't get over how cute Chorizo is. So there's really a ton to go over in this video. And by the way, if you want to see some raw, no commentary gameplay, I also have that up on the channel. And I will leave links to my other Far Cry 6 content in the pinned comment, so you can easily navigate to that after this video. For now though, let's get into it. A like on this video would of course really help me out. And let's go. I, by the way, started a giveaway for the Far Cry 6 Ultimate Edition on a platform of your choice. You can enter via the link in the pinned comment, and these giveaways are only for subscribers of the channel. The winner will get an email before the launch, so they also have time to pre-order the game as well. We of course already knew about Yara, the fictional island that we get to explore, and in the new B-roll we see how diverse the land looks, with beaches, palm trees, waterfalls, jungles. I really love this shot with the bow through the jungle. But there are also smaller towns, and I'm really getting Far Cry 3 vibes from this. Really nice. There will be multiple villages like this that we can explore, but also a more modern city, which of course a first for a Far Cry game. It looks quite big in this lookout shot as well. And this is really where we see that this island has been frozen in time for more than 50 years now. There was this violent revolution that cut off Yara from the rest of the world, and we still see the remains of that war throughout the land. Like old tanks, buildings that are destroyed or in the water, or the abandoned beach club that might now be an outpost from Anton and his men. Anton Castillo is of course the main villain, the new boss or Joseph Seed, and he looks really good, of course played by Giancarlo Esposito, and just like the father from Far Cry 5, he has his own statue too. Like, we will not only see him in cutscenes, but also on televisions, in the city for example, announcing his plans for the land. He namely wants Yara to return to its former glory, whatever that means, but Ubisoft notes that his motivations are far more complex than they first seem. What we know is that he has a vision, and everyone who speaks up against him will lose their freedom and are forced into labor. So regular Yaran are being suppressed, and throughout the island you will see Anton soldiers lining up civilians, questioning them. So while it is a pretty world, it's not really a fun place to be in for the locals. So it's of course up to us to stop Anton, and we play Danny, who was born and raised in the Lion's Den, the capital of Yara, the city, and drop out as a military and then want to get off the island, but then we see the horrible things that Anton is doing, so decide to become a guerrilla fighter instead. In the trailer we saw female Danny, she's being played by Nisa Gandes, but at the start you can also select a male version who's being played by Sean Ray. The story will be the same though, and the lines from both characters seem to be identical as well.
Why do you want to run? I watched Castillo order a whole boat of our people shot to death. Get as far away as you can from that psychopath. All of you. Why do you want to run?
I watched Castillo order a whole boat of our people shot to death. Get as far away as you can from that psychopath. All of you.
And if you want to see more cutscenes of the game, I have a video dedicated to that on the channel right now. I will also leave a link to that in the pinned comment, so you can check it out after this video. So we also saw another main character in that cutscene we just watched, and that is Clara Garcia. She's the leader of the resistance group Libertad, and we as Danny will help her lead the guerrilla movement to fight against Anton. And Clara knows Yara very well, so that will help a lot when we work together during many missions. And we have B-roll of Danny interacting with a ton of other characters as well, but just overall it's really exciting to hear our character in cutscenes again, and I think it's a cool twist that we see Danny in these cutscenes too. I think that will totally help us connect to her more than in the previous games. Also nice is that the game will not interrupt you like it did in Far Cry 5, where you were out of nowhere captured. Like, that will not be in Far Cry 6, we will be able to tackle the missions in pretty much any order we want. So I would imagine that there's just a main path we can choose to follow and a lot of side content as well. It should at least be very different compared to Far Cry 5, which I think is great, but there are totally some systems from the previous games that are present here. And we especially see a lot of New Dawn inspiration in the new resolver weapons. Another main character we get to meet early on is Juan Cortez, who of course stole the show during that Rules trailer that you might have seen already. He's our crazy weaponsmith and he helped build the Libertad as well. And now if we bring in parts that we should be able to find in the world, we can make some really cool weapons, like a minigun from a motor engine, which looks pretty deadly. The flamethrower is back, but now as a makeshift resolver weapon. Hopefully it's a bit better than in Far Cry 5 and New Dawn. And I really love this fireworks launcher taking out a helicopter. But also the familiar disc launcher from New Dawn is back. And I really like how the laser pointer here is attached to it as a flashlight. Ubisoft wants to stress though that there are also stealth resolver weapons like the nail gun, which lets you take out enemies from afar while remaining undetected. So kind of like the bow, but way easier to use. And this important, and I really hope they nail this, no pun intended, because Far Cry 6 wants to focus way more on stealth. We, for example, have more ways to blend in with the environment. We could, of course, always put our guns away, but that was mostly just a unarmed combat option. Now it seems more like a feature to holster our weapons, so we do not grab attention from Anton soldiers if we do not get too close or walk into a restricted area. Where in Far Cry 5, it was always pretty annoying to be alerted by Peggies all the time wherever you went. Another new way to use stealth is thanks to Chorizo, because as you might know, the Fangs for Hire from the previous games are back here too. And again, look at how cute he is. So good to know is that Chorizo cannot kill enemies, but will distract them so you can then sneak up to them and do one of those brutal knife takedowns. Yes, they were gone from Far Cry 5, then back in New Dawn with like scissors. And now in the limited B-roll I already have examples of many brutal knife takedowns in Far Cry 6. I also love the animation where you take out the enemy from a tank to use it yourself. Good AI is of course important though for good stealth. And so far in the gameplay I'm not convinced by the enemy AI. Like they're just standing there or running towards you when you're shooting them instead of taking cover. It overall doesn't look great, so I really hope they still improve that before launch. I do like the more elite soldiers though, dropping down a shield in front of them. Looks like a cool and pretty powerful enemy type. So having Guapo by our side to take them out will be nice. And that's the other amigo that was revealed right now. A lovely man-eating crocodile with clothes on. This will be a more combat support amigo, taking enemies out while in a fight. And we actually see that in the combat nail gun footage where Guapo is holding an enemy on the ground. Good Croco. And of course there's also a wide variety of regular firepower in the game. Ubisoft actually says that it's the biggest arsenal of weapons for a Far Cry game yet, with more than 49 military grade weapons to choose from, which is pretty wild. And we will also have more ways to customize these weapons, like this also where the resolver part comes in, where things found in the world can be used as scopes or compressors. So again, it's similar to how the makeshift weapons looked in Far Cry New Dawn. Completely new are the Supremo backpacks though. These basically function as our super attack, so I also would not be surprised if we activate them with the 2 shoulder buttons after they are like ready to be used. We got this crazy fire attack where you set enemies around you ablaze. For a longer range, you can use the Exterminator backpack, which launches rockets in front of you, exploding everything, including a tank. And there are also a ton of vehicles to choose from, although I will mostly be riding a horse, I think. We also briefly saw a boat, which we should be able to use more freely, and air vehicles are back too. We don't have any footage of that yet, although we do have this shot of Danny walking towards a helicopter. And there are way more details that I want to discuss, but I want to go more in depth on those things in future videos, because otherwise we will be here for a really long time. So totally subscribe for way more Far Cry 6 content if you haven't already. I will discuss way more details very soon here on the channel. And again, already have a ton of raw gameplay, no commentary, up as well. Like for example, combat footage, which you can watch by clicking on the screen, or you can check out the other videos via the link in the pinned comments. For now, I will speak to you next time. I hope to see you in the next Far Cry 6 video, and goodbye.